Yam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavataye Shuddha Jnanaekamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karni Vishnunyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabhiryajatraha Tirairangai Shushtabhagam Sastanubihi Vyashima Devahi Tayyadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastakshyo arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena
न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन
Yage naive amrtatvamanashuhu
यागेनैवे अमृतत्वमानशुः
Parena nakam nihitam guhayam
परेण
परेणाकं निहितं गुहायां
Vibrajate yadyatayo vishanti
विभ्राजते तयो विशन्ति
Vedanta Vijnana Sunischitarthaha
वेदान्तविज्ञानसुनिश्चितार्थाः
Sannyasa Yogat Yataya Shuddha Sattvaha
संन्यासयोगात् यतयः शुद्धसत्त्वाः
Te Brahma Lokeshu Parantakale
ते ब्रह्मलोकेषु परान्तकाले
Paramrta Parimucyanti Sarve
परान्तकाले सर्वे
This verse Vedanta Vijnana Sunischitarthaha Sannyasa Yogat Yataya Shuddha Sattvaha Te Brahma Lokeshu Parantakale Paramritat Parimucyanti Sarve. One of the 5 mantras used when you welcoming a sannyasi. This is all part of the rituals that are performed with the Purna Kumbha. These mantras are chanted. It says Vedanta Vijnana Sunichitarthaha. Those who have ascertained what Vedanta is trying to tell us. Vedanta, we keep saying, is a pramana. It tells us something. In our experience, any knowledge to take place has 3 fundamental requirements. We have to have somebody who says, I want to know. Call him a knower, otherwise there's no knowledge. There has to be something to be known. If there's no something to be known, not there, there is no knowledge. And there is a third element. A pramana by which this first category, the one who wants to know, can know about what is to be known. Without this pramana, no knowledge can take place. Our normal experience is that if there is a black colored object, this black colored object is there, the one wanting to know is there, but if he is blind, there are no eyes. If there is no sight, you will not know. There are, of course, certain conditions also under which it works. There must be an external light. If it is pitch dark, you're not going to know anything. You're not going to see anything, sorry. So you need all three. Even when you have all three, how does this knowledge itself take place? One is, we say, direct perception. This is an interesting thing about Shastra. When people claim that I am scientific, I work everything by logic, step by step, Vedanta or Veda is superstition. There is no logic. They should all study this bit of it. Vedanta says there are 5 types of pramana. One is a direct perception. Eyes, ears, nose, skin and tongue will give direct perception of what is to be known. Called pratyaksha pramana. There is a subcategory which we will not talk too much about, called sakshi pratyaksham, which get to know something without any of these senses, like hunger. But there are certain categories of knowledge which you don't have direct perception. The famous example, the example the Shastra uses, is that of billowing smoke on the mountains. Occasionally we see it here also. I see some smoke in the mountains. They are surrounded by mountains in Arshavidyalaya, as you know. And I infer that there is fire on the mountain. I don't see the fire directly, but I infer by seeing something else. You see smoke billowing out, therefore you say there has to be fire. Because we know of the invariable relationship between smoke and fire. That fact is known, has been observed again and again and again, that if there is smoke, there has to be fire. This is called anumana. You make an assumption, you make an inference. There is another way of gaining knowledge, or upamana. You take an example, something which is close to whatever it is that you want to know, but it is not exactly the same object. A person who does not know what durian is, a lot of us don't know what durian is. It's a fruit available in Malaysia and Singapore. It looks like this. It is green. It looks like a watermelon. And it smells to high heaven. So you can show another fruit which looks like that and say this is like this. And you can give another example of something which smells very highly. Some people, for example, give the example of jackfruit. Many people don't like the smell of jackfruit. So you can use an example to show what is to be known. Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Upamana. Then there are situations where you infer through multiple layers. And the classic example that Swami G likes to use is that of a person who does not eat all day because you're with him, doesn't eat. And you've been with him for a long time, 40, 50 days. And you notice that he loses no weight. Now, you have the knowledge that if somebody does not eat for 40 or 50 days, he will lose weight. What have you observed? One, he does not lose weight. Two, that he does not eat all day because you're with him. Then you gain the knowledge that he is eating at night. Here, in the case of Anumana, we have one observation, one knowledge gained directly, pratyaksha. I see smoke. Here I have multiple. If I know only that he is not losing weight, I have no information. No knowledge. But if I know that he's not losing weight and he doesn't eat during the day, I gain the knowledge that he eats at night. And the last category that the Shastra point out is called anupalabdhi. That which is not there. Swami used to say, do you see an elephant in my hand? Not there. And it is not there at a place at a time. Tomorrow I may have an elephant in my hand, even though it looks impossible. At this time, at this place, that thing is not there. An elephant may be in the Anikatti hills, but it's not there here now in the room, let us say. By doing this kind of logical stepwise thinking, Shastra tells us that if you have to know anything, you have to have one of these types of pramana. No logician, no person who says I'm rational, I'm scientific, can dispute this. Now, one thing you'll observe in all of these, this covers every form of knowledge, is that there has to be at least one pratyaksha knowledge. Whether I am saying it's pratyaksha knowledge of a color because my eyes, pratyaksha knowledge because of sound, some knowledge of sound because of my ears. In each one of them, that pratyaksha knowledge is important. Without that, there's no knowledge. In an anumana, I have pratyaksha of something, smoke in this case. In an upamana, I have pratyaksha of something else, which I'm going to compare with the knowledge that I'm going to gain. In each case, that pratyaksha knowledge is mandatory. If we take these examples and say, oh, now I know that what Shastra is talking about is very logical. That tarka, the logic, is applied relentlessly. But any pure logic you take, there are always limitations. There are always possibilities of contradictions. I remember reading a book when I was many years ago, a logical conclusion that grass is green, my pencil is green, therefore my pencil is grass. Logical conclusion. So you can have all kinds of weird, absurd inferences. Because our capacity, our observational capacity and our analytical capacity is limited by the capacity of the buddhi. How are you going to know the self? None of these pratyaksha pramana, which is required inevitably to know any knowledge, is good enough. So you need another pramana. That pramana must reveal the knowledge of the self, of I, Atma. And then Vedanta goes on to explain how this Upanishads, which is Vedanta, is the pramana for this knowledge. By going into the definition of what is a pramana, how we define a pramana, what can be called a pramana. But if we compare this pramana, we will not go into those details now. But if we take this pramana, this as a pramana, Vedanta as a pramana for the self, we will do that in another section. And we compare with the pramana of the pratyaksha, 5 senses. You see some glaring differences. But one glaring difference. Let us say you're sitting in the room in a class, and suddenly you start sniffing. There is some smell. I can sense that there is some smell. And the next person near you also says, yes, there is smell. But you don't know what the smell is. But you know that there is a smell which is out of the ordinary. And then everybody in the room starts sniffing. You don't know what the smell is. Then you go chasing that smell. What do you go chasing with? The pramana. The sense of smell obtained through the instrument called nose. So you go chasing that smell. It is something extraordinary. Finally, one person goes to the kitchen and says, my God, it's in the kitchen, it's in the kitchen, there's a smell in the kitchen. And then next, yes, the gas. Open the windows, do something. You had to begin with knowledge that there is smell, which was called samanya jnana. for which you need the pramana, which is smell, sense of smell, using the instrument called nose. Then you follow up, and then you get that Vishesha Jnanam. Where is the smell coming from? It is coming from the kitchen. What is the smell of? It is gas leaking. So you get both Samanya Jnanam and Vishesha Jnanam from this one pramana. Similarly, many times, I'm sure many of you have experienced this. You get into the room and say, something is smelling, something is smelling. Then you get Vishesha Jnanam, it is not a nice smell. Then somebody gets one more step in that, says, it smells like a dead rat. But you don't know where it is. Then you go hunting the whole house. Where is the smell coming from? What do you go hunting with? With the same pramana. Till you find that behind the cupboard, there's a dead lizard or a dead rat or something. Vishesha Jnana. Now compare this with the pramana, which is Shastra, which is Vedanta, which teaches you about yourself, which reveals the self. There, what is the Samanya Jnanam? In that first case, we said the Samanya Jnanam is that there is smell. Smell exists. Here, what is the Samanya Jnanam? I exist. I am. Do you need a pramana for that? There, that there is an extraordinary smell, you needed your pramana. But here, do you need a pramana? The Samanya Jnanam that I am, I exist. You don't need it. Then why have this Vedanta and all these classes and spending so much time in going through all this? The Vedanta is not the pramana for this. Vedanta is not the pramana for Samanya Jnanam. Vedanta is the pramana for the Samanya Jnanam, which is already known without the need for a pramana, that Vishesha Jnanam. What is that Vishesha Jnanam? Ultimately, Vedanta tells us only you are. Nothing else is. That is a very difficult jnanam to assimilate. So it takes us one step at a time. Like our looking for the Vishesha Jnanam of the smell. Where is the smell? What is the smell of? And eventually give us that knowledge. Step by step. Vedanta tells us there is one Ishvara who is Jagat Karana. And then you take one more baby step and say that Ishvara and I are not different. There you still have Ishvara and you still have this whole Jagat with Ishvara's created. When I know I and Ishvara are non-different, I can say which I have created. But in the last stage, when we really understand that only I exist, then, like I said, there is Ramaniganam. Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachit naham apyah. I exist, there's no problem. I'm always shining. And I'm always liking myself. Amasmi sada bhami kadachinnaham apriyah. I don't need any Upanishad to tell me this. So Vedanta has to reveal much more than the fact that I am. Where is the problem? The problem is because I have Samanya Jnana and I don't have Vishesha Jnana. What do? I know I exist, but I don't know the real nature of I. Therefore, wonderfully suitable conditions for superimposing something on it. I am this body. I am a human being. I am a fat body. I am an intelligent human being. All these are superimposition. Because your conditions are just perfect. We saw in one of the early classes, when the conditions are right, then the superimposition will take place. Superimposition of a snake on a rope. What are the conditions? I should have Samanya Jnanam. I should know something is there. I should not have the Vishesha Jnanam of what it is. Perfect condition when I will superimpose something. If I don't have the Samanya Jnana, there is no question of any knowledge taking place. There's ignorance. Perfect condition. Like in sleep. In sleep, I have no Samanya Jnanam. I don't know I exist. I don't know I am. Because all my knowing faculties have become avyakta. What a wonderful state. You are Ananda Swarupa then. But you necessarily have to wake up the next morning. Back to having Samanya Jnanam, but not Vishesha Jnanam. So this Vedanta as a pramana is different from all the other pramana that we are used to. We don't know the exact nature of the Atma, of the self, but we know it is there. So when you say Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha, Vedanta Vijnana, born of Vedanta, that knowledge born of Vedanta. We've seen that knowledge that is born of Vedanta is not I am. I exist. The knowledge that's born of Vedanta is what? Either I am that Ishvara who is Jagat Karanam, therefore I am Jagat Karanam. Or better still, that I am that Brahman. Ekameva Advitiya Brahman. Only I exist, nothing else exists. Aham bhami. Anyat sarvam anubhati. They exist because I am. Ultimate knowledge. Vedanta jnanam. Vedanta janita jnanam. Born of Vedanta. Is the jnanam of the nature of the self. Vedanta vijnana. Vishesha jnanam. That Vishesha Jnanam that is born of Vedanta, which is the pramana for that, that Jnanam, when it is Sunishchitarthaha, those who have ascertained that knowledge without a doubt. Nishchitarthaha. Nishchitartha is what? Definite knowledge. Sunishchitarthaha, with no element of doubt baki in my mind. Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha. You do a lot of, how do you use that pramana? Like the eyes you use because you open the eyes. The conditions are right, then there is no option but to see color. The pramana is there, it's operating. The pramata, knower is there. What is to be known? Prameya is there. Knowledge will take place. There can be errors because here we are looking at a pramana which we exercise our own buddhi to understand. And therefore, whatever I superimpose on that prameya can be different. I may be Nishchita Buddhi, I may be Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, but I may have gone in the wrong track. You know, the Shastra divides people who study the subject of the self into two broad categories. Those who accept Veda as a pramana, called astikas, and those who do not accept Veda as a pramana. In the second category, we have people like Buddhists, we have people like Jains. Therefore, they will draw their own conclusion, not based on Veda. We don't reject it out of hand. They draw their conclusions. We give respect to those conclusions, study them, and find out where are the differences. Then there are those who accept the Shastra as a pramana. That we have a variety of people who will make their own assessments of what the Shastra says about the self. If I study the Shastra on my own, because I know the language, I have intelligence, the chances are I will arrive at a conclusion which is a wrong superimposition. I remove one superimposition which is wrong, which is saying that I am this Sharira, but I superimpose something else. Our famous rope is seen as a snake which invokes fear or revulsion. But somebody else might see it as, I don't know, some water, streak of water. No fear. Only don't step on it, you might slip. Different superimposition, that's all. Hey, don't worry, it's not snake. It's just a streak of water. But still wrong conclusion. So they might run to bring a mop to clean that up. Every wrong conclusion will lead to wrong action. Like when the gas smell is there, when the Vishesha Jnanam that it is gas smell, then you open the windows. One very wise person says, no, switch off all the electric lights. Another person says, no, don't do that. It'll spark, the gas will light. Actions will be different. There are Naiyayikas who accept the Veda as a pramana, but only use logic. There are those who say there is nothing after the death of this body. Therefore, in this lifetime, enjoy. Even if you borrow Ranam to enjoy, how does it matter? After this body goes, not your problem. You're not there. Hey, the law will catch hold of your children. But that's their logic. Every person can interpret. And we don't disrespect any of them. They are people who have huge following. They are people who are extremely knowledgeable. Whether it is Madhavacharya or Ramanujacharya, they are also people of great knowledge. They will come up with their own idea of what it is. But what we have to do is to look at what other people are saying, examine that against what Shastra is saying, and on the basis of this kind of analysis, Mimamsa, you'll figure out where their error is. Both can't be right. One says there is a separate Ishvara and you are separate. One says there is no separate Ishvara, you are Ishvara. Both can't be right. So then you find out where the differences are and you arrive at the correct understanding. For in the first place, to understand this, you need the Guru. After you have listened to the Guru through Shravanam, you look at all these other viewpoints. All that I have understood, all the superimpositions that I have made, conclusions that I have drawn, and examine where the differences are and reconcile them. It's like, a child might act differently when the parent tells the child, you do this. There are two attitudes we can take, the child can take. One is to say, prove it to me. That if I do Topakaranam, I will benefit. Parents don't know how to tell them that. Because they don't know, they have been taught like that. They do what they are taught. So one is to question that and say, prove it to my five senses and my buddhi. Another is to say, if my parents are telling me this, although I don't understand, although it looks different from what I've learned in science in class, they cannot be totally wrong. Let me make an effort to understand where the difference comes from. Modern day child has been taught to question on the basis of the five pramanas. Question on the basis of what little knowledge the child has. You know, they say that by the time the son becomes about 13, 14, he thinks he knows everything. There is no way you can argue with the child and say, listen, there is much, much more that you have to know. Like that here also, people take a stand. It is like this only. Then you start telling them how it is to be looked at. What do? They will immediately put a defense mechanism in position. How to prove that I am right? He is wrong. This is Shraddha. If I have Shraddha in the Shastra, that is why Shastra insists on the fact that before you start doing anything, you must have certain Shraddha. Don't throw away your ideas. Swami G will not say that because you come to a 3-year course or 4-year course, you drop all your ideas and come. Keep them, but put them aside. Learn this and then compare. Sunishchita. Those who have got that nishchaya, clarity about what the Shastra is saying, clarity about how I reconcile the differences between all that I know, all the other inputs I keep getting, through mananam. Mananam is not just contemplation. Mananam is having heard and to an extent understood what Shastra tells us. All that you had put aside, kept there but not thrown away, that you thought you knew, and all the inputs that keep coming in your system, and at every stage compare and figure out where the differences are. That is manana. And arrive at the clarity of what it says. I still don't know. I have arrived at the conclusion by doing Shravanam and Mananam that I am Ishvara. But my God, is too big for me to carry in my head. I don't know how to understand. To understand this, I need Ishvara's grace and the Guru's blessings to gain that knowledge, to assimilate that knowledge. Once that is assimilated, then what are these kind of people? Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha. They are people who have absolute clarity. Sunishchitarthaha. And how do they get that? Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitarthaha. What kind of people are they? Yataya. Yati has at the Rudi Artha, commonly understood Artha is sannyasi. In the normal usage, we say sannyasi, yati, sannyasi. But the Other meaning is for yati is yatnashila. Ones who have done that kind of prayatna, all come from the same root. That kind of prayatna which is required in order to gain this knowledge. What did I do? I did puja, I prayed, I did shravanam, I did not get distracted because somebody else invited me to watch a cricket match. I did the person who has done the right effort. Yati. What is the right effort? How do you get that? Sannyasa yogat. The one who, through an understanding that karma is not going to get me this. Therefore, I do nyasa, tyaga of all karma which I know have no relevance to what I want. Sannyasa yogat yatayaha. Yatayaha is the plural of yati. Sannyasa yogat, by the practice of sannyasa. It does not necessarily mean wearing ochre. Many people who wear ochre have no idea what we're talking about. But an approach, an attitude one takes. Therefore, sannyasa yoga. Sannyasa yogat yatayaha. These yatayaha. What is the main thing they've done in this process? Through various practices ending in karma yoga. Shuddha sattvaha. Sannyasa yoga yatayaha shuddha sattvaha. If they're going to be Vedanta Vijnana Shuddha, they have to have these Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva. Go back to Bhagavad Gita again. Who is not distracted, driven by raga and dvesha? Clear purpose. That I am not controlled by my raga dvesha. You have no paripanthi now. They are the ones who are going to distract me. I am not giving in to them. Shuddha sattvaha are those who have attained this state through karma yoga. There is no other way. Come to a state when raga dvesha do not drive me. Then the person is a sannyasi. He may not wear ochre. He has a single pointed vyavasayatmika buddhi. Ekeha kuru nandana. Does not get diverted. He goes after that only that one effort for knowledge. Does not get pulled here and there. He has all his five senses under control. Shama, Dhamma, Ityadi. And therefore, Shuddha Sattva. This single-minded working towards that jnanam, one becomes a sannyasi. One has dropped all value for any karma. So he's focusing on this. I want to know. Vividita sannyasi. Veditum ichha. And a strong Veditum ichha, I want to know. And I've recognized that the only way I'm going to know is through Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitar. Therefore, I focus entirely on that because I've taken that as my pramana. And I work towards that totally committed. I may still do a lot of things in the body is there, Sharira is there, people around you are there. Sharira has to be maintained. People around you are demanding. Even if they're not demanding, they can be distracting. There are certain duties I have to perform because I have the Sharira. Those duties have to be performed. But while doing all that, because I'm a karma yogi, I'm focusing entirely on knowledge. Not distracted by raga, dvesha, or anything else in the jagat. Even with other things, what drives you is raga, dvesha. Therefore, he is a Vividisha sannyasi. But he doesn't wear ochre, doesn't matter. His clarity is there. Or he could be a Vidvat sannyasi. A sannyasi who has already gained that knowledge. If he has gained that knowledge, what value is any karma to him? What is the knowledge he has gained? That I am Purna. I am the only one, only existent thing. What are you going to achieve by doing any karma? Therefore, Bhagavan says in the Gita, I have no work in the three lokas. Name kartasi parthavya trishu lokeshu kinchana. But I still do. There's only one reason I do. I have no reason to do anything at all. Because I'm already Purna. There is no more want. I am Ananda Swarupa. Somebody asked the Guru, Swami G, I want to be happy. What do I do? He said, drop the want. Through knowledge. No more want. And drop the I. The individuality that I have assigned to myself by superimposition. What do you have left? You are the Ananda Spirit. Which we experience, like I said, every day. We know it is there. When you go to sleep, you are Ananda Swarupa. There is nothing else. Individuality is gone. I is gone. Want is gone. There is no want in sleep. Only when you want, you can't sleep. My God, I want to sleep. I want to sleep. I count sheep. Once you are in deep sleep, there is no want. There is no I. You are pure Ananda. Therefore, people who go to sleep and never wake up are people who have anayasa maranam. Body is gone. When you are in that state of Ananda, body is gone. Vedanta Vijnana Sunischitarthaha Sannyasa Yogat Yataya Shuddha Sattvaha. When you have defined this sannyasi as Vedanta Vijnana Sunischitartha, who is Yatihi, who is Shuddha Sattvaha, what happens to such a person? We will examine that tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.